Hey everyone, it's Kelly. I am back today with a new 12 by 12 scrapbook process video, and my video today is for Pretty Little Studio. I will talk a little bit more about my new role with Pretty Little Studio in just a moment, but I am going to start out today's video with a Cricut Design Space tutorial. Now this is a cut file from the cut shop, and I will link to it in the description box below. I'm only wanting to use the Dream Bigger portion of the cut file, so I am going to use the slice feature to remove the other icons within that cut file that I do not want to cut. So to do that, you just position a shape over the portion of the cut file that you do not want to use, and then you select the shape and the cut file, go to the bottom right hand side of the screen and click the slice icon, and that will slice apart the cut file, and then you can just cut a certain portion of the cut file and you don't have to cut the entire cut file with all of the images. Now I'm inserting a scrapbook template just to represent my 12 by 12 layout, so I know how large I want to size the cut file. And I do only have the 8 by 8 paper pack of the Bohemian Dreams Collection by Pretty Little Studio, so I need to make this cut file fit a 8 by 8 piece of paper. So I am going to size this cut file down to 8 inches or close to 8 inches just to see how large it would be on my 12 by 12 background. And I'm going to go ahead and insert a shape, and I'm going to size it roughly to the size of the photo that I'm going to be using, so that way I can see the comparison of the cut file with my photo to see if the cut file needs to be larger, if it needs to be smaller. So my photo is roughly 2 3/4 inches by 3 3/4 inches. So that is what I'm sizing that rectangle shape to. And right away I can tell that the cut file is way too small. So when I resize it, it's obviously going to be much bigger than the 8 by 8, and that's the only size pattern paper that I have. So I need to do a little bit of work to the cut file to make it work for the 8 by 8 piece of paper. Now the tricky part about this is I want to use this entire cut file. So normally if I was just going to use the Dream Bigger portion, I could insert a shape and just slice those feathers off, get it as close to that letter D as possible, and then just trim off any excess. But I actually want to use this entire cut file. So I'm going to insert a circle, and I'm going to size it roughly to the size of the dream catcher in the letter D. And then I'm going to insert a square, and I'm going to change the color of the square just so it's easier to see when I'm positioning it over the circle. And I'm going to slice that circle in half. And again, to use the slice feature, you just need to position your shapes, select both of them, and then hit the slice icon on the bottom right hand side of the screen, and you're going to see that it cut that circle in half for me. So I'm just going to move all of those objects out of the way because I no longer need them, and I'm just going to drag a box around them and delete them because I am finished with those. Then I'm going to go back over to the other circle that I had inserted onto the background, and I am going to go ahead and change the color of that just so it's easier to differentiate between the two circles as I am slicing those. I'm going to send that half circle to the background just because it's going to be easier for me to see this brighter circle positioned on top of that darker color. And I'm going to resize that full circle to about the same size of the half circle because I want to cut out a teeny tiny little sliver of that half circle shape that I had created with the slice feature. So now I'm going to slice these two circles by drawing a box around them and going down and hitting that slice icon in the bottom right hand of the corner. And you're going to see that I have just the teeniest, tiniest little sliver of a circle left behind. I'm going to drag that little sliver over towards the feather area and that dreamcatcher area on the cut file, and I'm going to change the color of it again just so it's easier for me to tell the difference between those two images. I'm going to position it right on the outside of that D, so right on the curve of the D, and then I'm going to select both of those, and I'm going to go down and hit slice yet again. So I'm going to start dragging away all of those extra images that I no longer need. And when I drag the Dream Bigger cut file, you're going to see that there's just a little bit of separation between the letter D and those feathers. So next I'm going to use the contour feature to hide the words on one cut file and then to hide the feathers on the other. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the cut file and then go down and hit contour, which is on the bottom right hand side of the screen. And then this is where you can hide certain portions of the cut file. Now I couldn't hide the feathers initially because it was connected to that Dream Bigger cut file. So if I would have selected the feathers, it would have also hidden that letter D and the letter R. So I had to create a little bit of space between them to let Cricut recognize that there was a separation there and that I was able to hide just that portion of the cut file. So in just a moment, you're going to see that I do have the feathers separated from that Dream Bigger portion of the cut file. So I'm able to resize those feathers, and I'm actually going to cut those feathers in a different color pattern paper, and just to add a little bit of visual interest to my background. I'm going to go ahead and resize the Dream Bigger portion to about 7.9. I think that's about as big as I can cut it on an 8x8 piece of paper. And you can see that by separating that image, separating the feathers from that Dream Bigger, I'm able to resize that Dream Bigger so much larger, so it's going to fit the size of my photo so much better. And here I'm just shrinking those feathers down to a size that just looks appealing to the eye. I'm going to go ahead and change the colors of the feathers because I am going to cut them on a different piece of pattern paper. So the different colors that you have on the design screen lets your Cricut know that it's a different mat that you're going to load. So it's a different piece of paper that you're going to load into your Cricut. So it actually separates those images so you can use two different pieces of pattern paper. Okay, so now we're moving on to the process portion of this process video, and I cut the Dream Bigger portion of the cut file on a teal pattern paper. It has a dot print to it, but it's actually like an open circle dot print, and I will link to all of the products that I use in this video in the description box below. I did want to add a little bit of color to the background, so I just grabbed a Shimmer's Mist from my stash, and I'm just going to add some pink and yellow to the background. And I don't remember the names of the colors that I used, but if you're curious on which colors I used, just leave a question below and I will look them up for you and let you know which colors they were. So while I'm getting this color on the background, let me talk a little bit about Pretty Little Studio and my new role with them. I am now part of their creative team or their design team, so I'm going to be creating layouts 2 to 3 times a month, just depending on the month and just depending on the schedule. So I'm really excited. I have used Pretty Little Studio's products in the past. I was actually a guest designer for them last year. I think it was April and May last year, or maybe March and April. I can't remember, but earlier in the spring, I was a guest designer for them, and I love their products. I was actually first introduced to their products through the Cut Shop. Ashley Horton is the owner of the Cut Shop, and she also designs collections for Pretty Little Studio, and actually this collection that I'm using was designed by Ashley. So when I joined the Cut Shop's design team, Ashley had started designing for them, and we were able to purchase some of their products and use them for our cut files. And I love them. I love the quality of the products. They're a US-based company and they print beautiful products. I believe that they're all printed in-house. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure all of their papers and embellishments are printed in-house. And the quality is great. The thickness is great on the cardstock, and the collections are huge. I will leave a link to their store in the description box below. Also, you'll want to check it out. They have such a wide variety, and they now offer 12 by 12 pattern papers. They used to only offer 8 by 8 as their largest size. So 12 by 12 is something that is fairly new, but the collections are beautiful. And there are multiple collections that come out through the year. So I'm really excited to be able to use their products, and I will be putting out more process videos because I'm now part of their design team. And one of my big focuses on the design team is going to be using cut files, which means you will be getting more Cricut Design Space tutorials also, which those seem to be something that people really enjoy. So I hope that's something that you all are looking forward to. All right, so let's jump back into the layout. I have added the color to the background, and then I've also given you a glimpse of the photo. And I don't know if you could see it, but Aiden's actually in that photo too. Aiden is my son, if you happen to be new to my channel. But when he was little, I think that he was probably 3 or 4 in this picture, he would wake up and for whatever reason in the middle of the night, and he would come into our bedroom, which is just down the hall from his, and he would wake us up, and he had a full-size bed in his room. So we never did co-sleeping. He never slept in our bed with us. The only time that he ever did was when he had RSV and we had to do breathing treatments around the clock throughout the night. And that was actually when we moved him into a big boy bed, was after he had RSV. So we would just take him back to his room, and it was typically Andy would take him back to his room, and we would lay down with him and fall asleep usually because it was the middle of the night. And I woke up one morning and Aiden must have come into our room at some point, and Andy got up and went back into his bedroom with him and laid down with him, and Andy fell asleep too, and it was just the cutest picture. They were both in the bed, and Aiden has one of those guards up on his bed so he wouldn't roll off the bed in the middle of the night, and his face is kind of pressed up against that mesh, so it's a little hard to see him in the picture in the video, but he is there. But when I first saw this Bohemian Dreams collection, I immediately thought dream catcher, and I don't really know why. I don't know if it's because there's some feathers in the collection, and when I see feathers, I think of dream catchers. I don't know what the correlation there was for me, but for some reason I thought Dreamcatcher. So this cut file worked out perfect, and I knew I had this photo of them that I had not scrapped yet, so I was happy to be able to scrapbook that and use this cut file with this collection. And the colors are just so bright and beautiful in this Bohemian Dreams collection. They're just absolutely gorgeous. So I added a couple pieces of the packaging that's included in the Bohemian Dreams collection. So it's actually the packaging for some of the stickers as a layer behind my photo. And I did mat it on some white cardstock, and I did add some tissue paper. So I'm just getting the layers all positioned behind the photo. And then as far as embellishments for this layout, I grab a couple butterflies from one of the die cut packs. And again, I will have everything linked in the description box below. So there are multiple die cut packs included in the Pretty Little Studio collections. So if you're curious the exact embellishments and stickers that I use, I will make sure to link to those. And I'm also going to use one of the sticker sheets from Bohemian Dreams. So I will show you a little bit more of those products in just a little bit here. Now I did add some journaling to my layout, and I used my We Are Memory Keepers typecast typewriter to add the journaling. And because the journaling was going to be positioned so low on this 12 by 12 background, I did washi tape another piece of cardstock to this piece of cardstock. So when I ran it through my typewriter had a little bit more to grip on because it is so far down on the 12 by 12 piece of paper. So now I'm just going to start to bring everything back in, and I did add some pop dots behind the word dream because I want to elevate it off the layout a little bit. Now for the feathers, I used another piece of pattern paper from the Bohemian Dreams collection, and it's this really pretty watercolor paper, as in it looks like it's been watercolored, and it has some pinks and blues and yellows, and I tried to cut the feathers on just the pink and yellow portion of the paper because I wanted it to match the pink and yellow mixed media that I had on the background. Now I'm going to start adhering things down, and I am going to use liquid adhesive for everything because I did apply some gesso to the background or to that white cardstock before I did the mixed media, and I just have the hardest time getting anything to stick to gesso. So liquid adhesive tends to be my best friend when it comes to gesso. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere the photo down and then start working on getting the embellishments put down. I'm going to position 2 butterflies towards the top of the layout. And I wish that I had a third butterfly. I wish I could have put another one on there. The pack of embellishments that I have, they have multiple butterflies in them, but there's a couple different styles of butterflies, and I really liked the style. Now, included in the Bohemian Dreams collection, like I said, there's multiple packs of embellishments, and some of the other packs have similar butterflies, but I just didn't have any of those in my stash of this collection. I thought about adding some tiny phrase stickers to the background. I love tiny phrase stickers. That's why I bought them in every color that was available, but they don't end up making it onto the layout. I felt like I just had a little bit too much text print going on in that bottom right hand side of the layout with the journaling that I had on the background. So now I'm going to go through some of the sticker sheets and see if I can find any stickers that I can use for embellishing. I pulled a couple feathers off the sticker sheet here, but they don't end up making it onto the layout. I thought that the feathers would go well with the layout because I had feathers with the Dreamcatcher, but the colors just didn't seem to mesh well with what I had going on. So now I'm going back through the die cut pack to see if there are any flowers that I want to add on there. And I do like that yellow one. I like that it brings a little bit of yellow into that bottom right hand corner of the layout because I have so much pink going on with the mixed media. Now I do want to say off camera, I do add quite a bit to this layout. I thought it was finished and I left it sit overnight, and when I came back in to grab it to photograph it, it just did not feel done. So I went back through the embellishments and I did add some more die cuts, and I actually cut those feathers a second time in that same teal pattern paper that I cut the words dream bigger, and I just add them right on top of those pink and yellow feathers that I have on there. I hope I haven't been saying flowers and that I've been saying feathers. I do mean feathers. And here I'm showing you what the layout looks like at this point, because I really did think it was finished. I really do love the dimension of those feathers. You can see how they're kind of popping off the background because I only added adhesive right near the dream catcher portion. And in just a moment, I will bring up the still shots and you'll be able to see things in better detail on the extras that I added on. So I just added some more florals, and then I did add some enamel dots from my stash also. So there's just a little bit more embellishing in these still shots. So I hope you enjoyed this process video. If you have any questions about any of the products, the techniques, or the Cricut tutorial, please let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I will be back again very soon with a new layout and process video. As always, thank you so much for watching.